Alright, welcome back to our fourth tutorial for how to begin working with your video editing software for BH1. So we've already got our files off the camera onto the computer, and then from the computer into Premiere, and we've also created a sequence. That was step number 3. So step number 4 is we're actually going to start editing. And you'll notice the widescreen here, all the way over on the right side. This is our second monitor on all the computers. Maybe a few of them may have your program monitor on the right side here. If that's the case, it still kind of works the same. Over here is in your program monitor shows where your red line is. So if I were to move that red line, you'll begin to see the video change on the program monitor on the right side. This red line is also pretty important to where you're editing, because you want to see where the red line is at to determine any cutting that you're going to be doing in your sequence. So in order to get a closer look at what's actually in my sequence here, I need to zoom in on it, and that's controlled by this bar down here at the bottom. If I just click the main part of the bar and drag to left and right, I can actually move throughout my sequence. If I click the square on the end of the bar, click and hold and drag it, I can zoom in on the sequence. You can see I'm at 12 seconds, 12.05, 12.10, 12, so I can get really particular with my video editing, or I can click that and I can zoom all the way out. You can see I have over 10 minutes of sequence here, but my video takes up a little bit less than 2. So I'm going to zoom in to make sure I can get some detail in my editing. Now, looking at the videos themselves in here, every time you see a little break here, these separate items here on my sequence are actually separate videos that I've created in my sequence. Either they're separate video files that I've dragged in, or I've done some editing and created 2 separate videos in the sequence. Your sequence plays from left to right. So if I were to come over to my sequence here and put the marker all the way at the very beginning, I can hit play by pushing the space bar on the keyboard, or by clicking play over here in the program monitor, but it's easier to press space bar. So let's press space bar and see what my sequence looks like to begin with.
Is it Jupiter? Your mom.
Okay, she's supposed to be a class clown. Alright, so you can see when my red line passed through this break here that the video just changed right away to the other. So this is how my video looks right now. This is what it's designed to do based on what I have in the sequence. So I want to change some of that. I want to get rid of maybe some of this stuff at the very beginning, or some things at the very end of my videos, and just correct all that. So actually, let's take a look at our third one.
Your mom.
Oh, there we go. So we actually have 2 separate videos here that both say the same thing. Let's say we did more than one take of this, and let's say we don't particularly like this one. If you look in the background, Mackenzie here is looking at the camera, which is bad when we're trying to do like a skit or something. So I don't even want this one. So I want to actually get rid of it out of my sequence, because what happens, what some students will do, is they'll zoom out and they'll say, well, we don't want this one. They'll click it. You can click the top of it here, and they'll actually move it away and put it somewhere else. The problem, what that does is, all that does is it just adds clutter to your sequence. If you know there's a video file that you aren't going to use, you've gone into editing, you've looked at it, and you said it's no good, I don't want it, then just completely get rid of it out of your sequence altogether. So in order to do that, we click on the file and we push the delete key on the keyboard, and now it's gone. Now's a good time to talk about what happens if we accidentally delete something off the sequence but we want back. There's 2 different ways you can do that. We can go up to Edit and click Undo, and now it's back. Or, once I delete it, I can hold down the Control key on the keyboard and push Z, and now it's back. And you can undo a lot of actions. Let's say that you did about 5 different things on your sequence that you didn't like. You want to roll those back. You hit Control Z about 5 times and everything will be back. So let me mess a few things up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to hit Control Z a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm back to where we were. I just undid everything, all the changes that I made. Okay, so I don't want this file in my sequence. So I left click on it, delete, it's gone. It's not cluttering up my sequence. I know I'm not going to use it in my video. It's not going to be part of the end product whatsoever. So I moved it. I just got rid of it. Now I have a gap here. And what happens with your sequence, as your video begins to play, you'll notice that once my red line hits this area, my program monitor is going to go black because there's nothing there.
Is it Jupiter?
Okay, now again, black screen.
Your mom.
Okay, then we hit back and then the audio comes back and the video comes back because this is where our video is. So again, this is our timeline. Alright, on our sequence, the other thing you'll notice is that the video tracks are on top and the associated audio tracks are on bottom. You can see that more on the left side where it says video 1 and audio 1. And you can notice in the audio tracks, you can see where there's loud spikes in the audio. If we have a really good mic in the scene, you'll see some dialogue. You'll see a bunch of little waves here to show that we actually do have some audio there. Sometimes these are collapsed like that. You can't see them. If you want to see the waveforms on your audio waveforms on your sequence, you come to your audio channel, you click this little triangle and it expands it. Clicking it again would collapse it, but it's best to work with it open so you can see all your audio. Alright, so next I want to make sure that this video where she says your mom is right after.
Is it Jupiter?
She says, is it Jupiter? Now, this isn't what we really want in this video. We're going for something else, but for our purposes, we're going to pretend that that is supposed to come right after this one. So in order to move this video next to this one, you can click, hold, slide it over to it. Now, these have the ability to auto lock. That's controlled by this little magnet here that we can, it's called snap, that we can click on and off. When I drag it there, you'll notice, if you watch right here at the corner, you'll see a little white triangle pop up. There it is. It's snapping to it. That's showing that the software is helping us line that right up against it so there are no gaps between them. There we go. See, there was no blank space between those. The program monitor didn't go black at all. Okay, the other way we can easily bring video files that are further down in the sequence to here, especially if we just want to remove a gap, is we use this thing called ripple delete. I can right click in this blank area, hit ripple delete, and it's going to automatically scoot those things over. Okay, I'm going to Control Z and undo that because when you ripple delete, what it does, it doesn't just move your one video file over, it slides everything over. I'll show you from here. Every file moved, as opposed to just clicking and dragging that video over. So then I've just moved the gap, basically. Okay, so let me zoom back in here. And we'll watch what we have right now.
Is it Jupiter? Your mom.
Okay, so at the very end of that video, our kind of director here, our camera person, was saying you were supposed to do something different, and you can see her audio show up here. Well, we don't want that in our final product. We only want a video here that has Caitlin raise her hand, ask if it's Jupiter.
Is it Jupiter?
And then we switch over to her saying, your mom. And that's all we want to show. Okay, we don't want Stephanie's voice in here because then it breaks the illusion of what we're doing. So there's two different ways we can edit this little video clip to get rid of that. The first way is trimming. Now when I trim a video, I'm taking the end of the video and bringing it in, or the beginning of the video and bringing it in a little bit. Now when we do that, it's basically just trimming the ends of it off, and trying to get something in the middle that we want. So when we do that, the first way to trim is to get your red line kind of where you want your video to end. And when you hover your mouse over the right side of that video file, you're going to see this little red kind of weird arrow with a bracket on the end of it. When that happens, you hold down left click, you'll see the end of the video turns red. I can drag, and it's actually trimming. If I look in the program monitor, it's showing where I'm at in that video file to do my trimming. I bring it to my red line because that's where I wanted to trim to, and when I let go, my program monitor goes black because now there's nothing over here. Now I play my file.
Your mom.
Now Stephanie's part is gone. It's no longer there. Okay, let's Control Z and undo that. The other way I can get rid of unwanted areas in a video file is through cutting. In order to do that, a cut basically splits your video in half wherever you make the cut. So I'm going to cut right here, and in order to do that, I have to go over to my left side to my tools, and there's a tool over here called the razor tool. And I can access it one of two ways. I can either click on it here, and now it's active. You can see my mouse icon change to what looks like a little razor blade. Or, I'll click back on my mouse, I can push the C key on the keyboard, and now my mouse automatically turns into that razor. So I don't want any of this on the right side of this video. This is the part of the video where Stephanie talks up and the shot is over. So I'm going to put my razor blade on that red line, left click, and now what you've noticed is I have now two videos. They're both called 00010 because they're both from the same original file, but now I can move this one independently. Now before I can move it, I have to get off my razor blade and go back to the mouse. So I can do that by clicking on the mouse over here, or I can push the V key. And now I have my mouse where I can select videos. And notice now that I can select these videos separately. I can move it if I wanted to. So now I have this section over here of just Stephanie talking. See? Now I don't want that video, so I can click it and delete it. Now it's gone. Now let's say I wanted to keep it. Let's say, for instance, that instead of having this as one long video clip, I actually want to use this part and that part, the one with Stephanie talking and the one with Caitlin talking. And I can do that, and I can rearrange it. Let's say I slide this down, slide the first one over, slide this one over, and I can bring Stephanie's track over here to the beginning and rearrange things. And now, see, I can keep those video files. I don't have to delete them. So the cutting serves a different purpose than trimming. Trimming automatically gets rid of your what you're trimming off of it, the part of the video that you want gone. Cutting, all it does is separate your video file into two, and you can do with this one whatever you please. You can delete it, or you can move it somewhere else. Cutting is best used when you're trying to get rid of something in the middle of a video file. Let's say I want to get rid of Caitlin saying your mom. I use the blade, cut it here, move my red line down, cut it here. Now I can delete where Caitlin says your mom. Move those together. When I hit play, and that's what I'm left with. Okay, so cutting and trimming is something that's super important. But before we go, I wanted to show you one last thing. Since you're going to be cutting and trimming, you are going to be moving videos around your sequence. I want to caution you about something before you begin doing that. When you move a video in your sequence, these videos will overwrite each other. I'm going to show you an example of that now. When I go to move this, if I drop this 00010 video right here, it's actually going to erase what's underneath it that's part of video 00012. So I'm going to let go here. So now 0012 has been cut in half. You see 12 here, see 12 here. 10 has now overwritten it and laid on top of it. So now when I play it, there's 12, here's 10, and here's 12 again. Okay. When I move 10 back, let's say that was a mistake. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I move 10 off. Now that part of 12 is gone. So a couple different ways I can fix this. I can Control Z in order to undo everything. But I have another method as well. Let's say I did that. So this is where I have 12 is cut. Remember the trim method that I showed you where you highlight the end of a video clip? When you hold left click, yes, you can trim to get rid, but you can also add back video that has been erased. You bring it forward, and now we have video 12.
Is it Jupiter?
Is back to the way it was, even though now it's in two separate pieces. It being back to back right there makes it the same video. So there's your introduction, a long introduction, about 16 minutes on cutting and trimming video.